Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I said hello weird again. Anyway, if I could edit, I would edit how many hellos I could do differently. But hello, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you listen to, and welcome to a very much a surreal podcast. Shall we put it that way? We're going to be talking about the events over the past week, and we're going to be talking a little bit about what's gone on, what's happened, where we see it going. Not that we can actually predict anything because it's so unpredictable at the moment. But before we get going, I just want to point out to everyone that we're not on Podbeam. And I was about to say something really rude then, because just before we come on, before we started recording, we tried to pronounce the new manager's name. I was about to say Porn Beam. Anyway, we're my brain. We're not on Podbeam anymore. We're now on Soundcloud. Podbeam are useless and they screwed us over. So we're now not with them anymore. We're now on SoundCloud. You will still be able to watch it on YouTube. All of the episodes are now also on SoundCloud as well, so you can go back and listen to them whenever you want. If you're bored, you can go back and watch them and listen to them. We're changing a little bit of the layout of how we do thumbnails. I'm playing around to see what really works and what doesn't. I just want to try and test things out. But before we get into anything and before we get anywhere, we want to carry on from just a little bit of the conversation we had on Friday. The Friday's episode with Johnny Hunt was basically, I'm going to say, one of my favorite episodes that we've done because of multiple different things. One, he's one of the most genuine person, apart from Courtney, obviously, that I've ever come across in my life. But he actually is someone that cares about people. And he's such a nice person. And to talk about mental health, it's the first time I've ever opened up about the struggles that I went through mental health wise. The only other time I think I ever opened it up was when I was in the room with the woman that was looking after me when I went through the mental stage that I went through. So to get that off my chest and everyone to listen is good. But not only that, to have him on and him to tell his side of the story as well. We are going to carry on with mental health awareness, and we're going to mention it every episode because it's something that we need to do a little bit more. And the thing that we were trying to get across in that episode is basically men need to talk more, and we do. We are the worst species or gender of just bottling everything up that we feel. So what we're going to, before we get into all the Reddit stuff, I just want to ask, and I'm going to ask this every week, every episode of everything, how is everyone doing? This is for both of you. You both can talk now. Stop talking.
Yeah, no, I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, very good.
Good. Ryan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Apart from binge watching The Fall.
It's so good.
Mm.
It's such a good show. Yeah, just chilled out weekend. Good to have some time off work and just, because I've not, I got to be honest, I said to you just before, everything that we're going through on this podcast today, a lot of it you're going to have to explain to me because I haven't kept up with anything.
I don't know how. It's been everywhere, and everyone's moaned all week as well. So we're going to go that. So I'm going to go off a little moan just before we get into it. And basically it's talking about people moaning at the Reading Football Club social media team. I see a lot of people criticising them for not posting. Well, they can't post unless they get authorised to, one, by people that are higher up. Two, if there's other people in the club that won't let you do it. You can't announce saying that we've got a new manager in when he hasn't signed a contract yet. You can't say Bowen's gone upstairs when he hasn't actually signed the contract yet. You can't say anything until it's 100% guaranteed because, as we all know, if you post anything on social media and you get it wrong, it comes back to bite you in the ass. And that's the one thing I think people need to start going on about it and just get over the fact. So let's start to talk about the events of last week. Let's talk about Nigel Howe seems to be a very much a long lost memory of everyone else. But let's go back and start with him. Let's start with him. So how's everyone feeling about his departure? How's everyone feeling? This is good.
I think it's good that they've obviously kept him around the club. I think because this happened before, didn't it? He got moved over to sort of the business and the property development side of things. I think that is perhaps more of his specialty than football. But then obviously he moved back, and then he quickly made some really big decisions, didn't he? He dismissed or played a part in the dismissal of Clement when he came back, and seemed to be sort of getting things back on track for a while. But there's no, I mean, everyone knows that things haven't been good enough in the, for a long time now. But certainly the financial side of things haven't been. And I'm not saying that's Nigel Howe's fault, but he obviously, as CEO, has some sort of involvement in the financial running of the club, and things haven't been good enough. Reading have found themselves in a real struggle. So it didn't surprise me that he was asked to leave or asked to move across. The appointment that came in to replace him was a big shock. I've never heard of him from like from an outside point of view. It kind of looked like they've, I don't want to say brought in a yes man, but kind of just brought in someone that they know and someone that they can sort of control and almost manipulate in a way and have things done their way, which in some ways is good, but then in some ways is bad, because I always feel that in some ways actually, you want a CEO to stand up to the owner, and someone to say, no, this is what we need, this is how we should do it, and someone to have that sort of knowledge. And this Pang person that I've never heard of, and I've no idea what his footballing credibility is. I mean, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, no, it wasn't surprised.
Quick question for both of you. Do you think Howe was put under pressure after the appointment, or what seemingly went wrong with Gomez? Do you think his position become untenable because he appointed Gomez, and Gomez did what he did, but then the money they spent to help him and the bad results that come with that? Do you think
I don't think Gomez was ever Nigel Howe's choice. He was, there was a lot of talk at the time about Phil Parkinson and Phil Parkinson going back to the club. I'm not convinced that Gomez was ever Nigel Howe's choice. So I don't think that were. I could be wrong, but no, personally, I don't think that was the case.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'm the same as that. I do think most of the managerial appointments in the last few years, I think they've come from the owners rather than the CEO.
Right, that was just one of the theories I've just thought in my brain, because it seemed to be the money that was spent. It seems like he was trying to tighten the purse strings, but we all know what's going to happen now. He's going to be absolutely loaded. So since that, let's talk a little bit about Bowen. There's a lot of parts of questions that I've got here to ask the pair of you about Bowen. But let's first think, what do you think? Because apparently, I don't know whether you probably broke it, that there was a talk with Bowen to go back upstairs. I think it was 4 or 5 days before everything got broken. What do you think is going through? What's going through Bowen's head now, and what do you think? All of that. How do you think Bowen has reacted, or what you think he's done during the stuff?
Well, I'd like to think that he knew about it before I posted it on Twitter. Apologies to him if he didn't.
Can I also say I'm very apologise, Bowen, if you're watching this, because the day before Courtney broke the story, I messaged you on LinkedIn to see if you want to come on the podcast to talk about your career at Reading. I know that you're not going to do that for a very long time, but in the future, please come miss Justin. My bad.
Yeah, reaction-wise, I've heard from obviously friends and peers and colleagues who saw him at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on was it Friday, that he wasn't particularly happy. It looks like he refused to do an interview, which is not surprising. So just judging on that, I mean, I think he obviously saw himself in a managerial position. He obviously felt that his strengths would be best suited on the touchline and working with the players on the pitch. So yeah, I can only imagine how he was feeling, and that was probably angry, just maybe disappointed, maybe probably felt a bit sort of let down by the club that they hadn't given him any time at all really, but certainly haven't given him a lot of time to get his ideas across. And the owners have obviously decided at some stage that he wasn't the man to take them forward. So And probably a bit of confusion as well, because I think obviously the message that has come from the owners is like, well, we don't think you're the right person to lead the club, but we still want you to have a very prominent position, and we want you to sort of look after like the recruitment side of things, and so, yeah, probably a lot of confusion as well on his part.
Do you think so? Let's take out. This is a question for both of you. Let's take out the timing of it. Do you think it was the right decision to get rid of him as manager?
No, personally, no. Only because I've always said that I think managers need to be given time. I hate seeing managers, and I understand if you lose 10 games on the bounce, you're probably going to lose your job. But I've never been a fan of sort of the chopping and change. I mean, what was this? What are we on now? 3 managers in 2 years, is it?
I think so. About that, yeah.
Yeah, like 4 managers in 3 years. Like, so no, I don't personally. I said before that I think he should have been given to the end of the upcoming season. So no, I disagree. But then if Paunovic comes in and wins his first 10 games, and all of a sudden we're going to be calling him the Messiah. So
Ryan
doesn't look a bit like the Messiah as well, to be honest.
No, he looks like you don't want to see him down a dark alley. He scares the hell out of me just by his face, I tell you. Ryan, what do you think? Do you think, let's take timing out, and we'll talk about time and all this and all that in a minute. But do you think it was right for Bowen to leave? Because I know your opinion on it.
Yeah, so I always said, like, I always thought he was the person to come in and, like, steady the ship, to then step aside for somebody else to come in to take that next step. So to me, it kind of looks like we're kind of just cutting out that bit and just putting all our eggs in the promotion basket. Obviously, Mr. Dye hasn't been the most patient with managers. I think Bowen was our second longest serving manager since Stam.
And that's probably thanks to COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got to respect the ambition in a sense, because I don't think he'd do anything to risk the club's future. And obviously, we've seen he's put his money where his mouth is. So I just get a feeling that he is trying to cut out that sort of, rather than steadying the ship, just sort of screw it, let's go for it.
See, my opinion. My opinion of this is I see a lot of Reading fans. Let's go back 3 or 4 weeks ago, before pre-season started at the end of the season. Let's say I reckon 70% of people were like, Bowen's not the right man. We need to change this. We need to get forward. I understand the timing is impeccable, you could say, but what they did. But it seems like he's listened. Not that he's actually, I don't know if he's not on Twitter, but I don't know if he can see anything, but he's listened. He's gone.
He's in our group chat.
Yeah, he's in everyone's group chat going, I can see what they're doing. But he seems to have gone from someone that's actually listened to what everyone fans want. But when he's done it, people have criticised him.
I think they've criticised the circumstances in which it was done, I guess. But no, I 100% agree in that. But I think that's just football fans in general. Football fans will, they'll moan about something, and then, like you said, when something happens, it all of a sudden that won't be good enough. But that's what
you can never make everyone happy.
No, exactly.
Let's talk about Bowen's new hasn't officially, when we're recording this pod at Monday at 5 to 5. I'm just pointing it out because it could change by the time this gets released. Bowen looks like he could be going back to director of football. There's a 2-part question I want to ask you both. 1, do you think he'll be good at director of football? And 2, do you think he'll be able to do what he wants to do as director of football, and will Dye let him do what he needs to do?
Yeah, you go.
I was going to say, I've got a bit of a weird outlook of it. So it almost seems to me that it was Howe, the one saying, you got to be wary of breaking financial fair play rules, especially in regards to Ajaria signing. And the fact that he's left and then less than a week later we've signed him, it kind of, I think I think he is going to have a big part to play in signings, and I think he will kind of have a sense of freedom of being able to go and sign the players that he wanted to sign. You see with Laurent is very much Bowen's player. Ajaria is, again, very much someone that Bowen wanted at the club.
Mm-hmm.
If he's in the director of football and in that role, and then you've got the new CEO that we don't know anything about, for all we know, he could be a yes man, like you said. That gives Bowen the freedom to go and sign who he wants to sign without any pressure on it, as long as the owners are okay with it.
Yeah.
What's your thinking?
I mostly agree. I think I said last week that if he does take the role as director of football, and obviously I certainly believe that he is going to. I think Reading fans actually consider themselves quite lucky. He's well respected in football, not by Alex Bruce, but by. He's been in football a long time, as he likes to say. I think he's been in football 20 plus years, and he has a lot of contacts. He's very well known within the game. I think he brings a lot of experience to that role, and it's just like what I was saying about this new CEO that's come in that doesn't have any sort of footballing background, or Mark Bowen is all football. So I think to have someone with that sort of pedigree in that position, I think it can only really be good for the club. The second part of your question, that's one for the owners, because it really does depend on on how they're going to be, whether or not they're going to give him money to spend, and then it also depends on his relationship with the manager, because we don't, obviously no one's met this Paunovic yet. We don't know, maybe he's going to want to have more of a say in. I did think it was strange, the Ajaria signing. Not strange as in, obviously we all know that Ajaria is a great player and wants to be at the club, but just seems a lot of money to spend on someone when you've got a new manager coming in the next couple of days who he may not want a flair player. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. So it all depends. If the owners are going to give him money to spend, then I do think he's a very valuable person to have in that position, certainly.
Do you think, I've just been thinking this while we're talking, do you think we're going to turn, this is going to sound a really weird comparison, but don't take it this way, a bit like what Barcelona do. The manager doesn't have any choice in the transfers. They have a board, and they all sit around and go, right, who are the best players in the world right now? Who are the most youngsters we can have right now, and who will change us and do it? And they get brought by the upstairs, and then the management has to deal with it. Do you think that's what a club we're going to be turning into, where upstairs do the signings and downstairs just concentrate on getting who they buy, the best out of them? Do you think that's the way, this is the direction we could be going in? Not Barcelona. I wish we do go to Barcelona way.
I'd happy to be a Barcelona.
But if we could get Messi, that'd be bloody brilliant. But no, do you think that's the sort of structure that they're going to start be having?
I think it's possible. I don't know. You'd have to ask them. Obviously, not privy to what goes on sort of behind closed doors. But yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. To take someone out of a manager's seat and then put him, let's be honest about it. Mark Bowen isn't going to take that role unless he's been offered something good. Mm-hmm. So he's either been offered a brown envelope, so to speak, and a very good, very pay packet, or he's been offered an opportunity which pleases him, and he feels that he's able to.
Make an impact.
He wants to take and make an impact. So, yeah, I think we'll find out sooner rather than later. But yeah, he's certainly been offered something to make him happy.
Ryan, as a fan's perspective, I'm going to ask you: would you be happy with that, or with the structure of the signings what happened? Do you think, as a fan, would you be behind it, or would it be something that you would be very much against?
I'm mixed on that, because if it's coming from the owners, then I wouldn't fully be behind it. However, if it come from the likes of Mark Bowen, who obviously is going to be director of football, you're also sort of like, you're not officially, but you are kind of chief scout. You've got to know the players. Like, if it's coming from Bowen, I can fully get behind that. However,
on his head if the signing goes wrong, not the scout.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's coming from the owners and they're just signing some random bloke we've never heard of, then not so much.
So the other theory I've seen floating around as well over social media, which is a very reliable source, is a lot of people are trying to put a point of Kia getting involved, saying he never liked Bowen, wants to change it. Do we know if he had any? To me, Kia has nothing to do with the Serbian at all. Is it just they're just trying to find someone to blame?
I think he's more associated with players than he is manager.
I
don't know for sure, but I find it very hard to believe that he would have had any sort of say in Mark Bowen's future.
So
I also think if he didn't like him, he wouldn't give him a behind the role scene at the club. He'd just get rid of him.
Yeah,
that is another point of why having someone like Mark Bowen in a director of football role is a bonus. Rather than having an agent or a super agent or businessman or whatever he likes to call himself, sort of getting heavily involved with these transfers, because at the end of the day he is a businessman and he is in it for his business and his back pocket, and I have a lot more confidence knowing that there's someone like Mark Bowen, a footballing man, making those decisions. So if it does cut out that sort of middleman, then yeah, 100% all for it.
So while you were talking, I was going through just to find out a little bit about a new manager, just so I can get facts right for you guys. And I just skipped past Celtic losing in the Champions League. Nah. Shit club. Right. So let's talk about the new manager, Veliko Ponovic. Him, Mr.
Is Paunovic.
Paunovic.
I've been reliably told it's Paunovic.
Paunovic, right. I've got to try and remember that. So let's talk a little bit about himself. I just want to relay over to you guys a bit about his playing career, who he's played for, and a bit about his managerial career that everyone knows about and we've all talked about. But everyone that has listened...
I did like in the statement from the club, like 380 words on his playing career, 2 lines about his managerial career.
Yeah. Very much so, and I think there was a reason for that. But I want to go through it with you guys and see what you think. So he's a very much a partisan person. He was played there, looked like so, and then he moved to Marbella. Then he played for 2 seasons for Atletico Madrid B. Then he played for 6 years for Atletico Madrid's first team. During that time, he went on loan to Mallorca, also went on loan to Oviedo, also went on loan to Mallorca. He moved to Tenerife, then moved back to Atletico Madrid. He's had 2 stints there, fair play to him. And then he played, I think, half a season at Hanover, then moved back to Spain to play for Getafe, went to Russia to play for Rubin Kazan, back to Spain to play for Amira, and then half the season there, they went back to Serbia to play for Partizan. And it says that he was out of the game for a little while, according to this. And then he played for his last playing career at Philadelphia in 2011. Then he took over at Chicago Fire in November 2015. Lasted 4 years there, played 100 games, won 31, drew 25, lost 44, has a win percentage of 31%. How are you guys? Go on.
Journeyman.
I think journeyman as in playing. I think probably. Or knowledge. He's gone all around those places to gain knowledge.
I think his playing career his playing CV is very respectable.
Impressive.
Very much so. Playing for Atletico Madrid, have 2 stints at Atletico Madrid as well. That's nothing to be looked over as well.
That's nothing to be ashamed of.
And he's also had Champions League appearances as well. I think he played against Man United. And there's a picture of him next to Fernando Torres as well, which is pretty cool. But how are we all feeling about him? Courtney, with you, I know that you got on a bit of a merry-go-round with one Serbian being talked about and then another Serbian coming in. So what's your thinking about how the situation went on and how he got appointed?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have probably the same question as every Reading fan has, is, you know, who is he? What has he done? What has he?
I told you what he did.
What has he achieved in his? Yeah, but
I know what you mean. I'm joking.
You know, I mean this, obviously, fully behind him and wish him all the best, but I just question why this person? What has Paunovic said to Dayongi in his interview, that Dayongi has said, yes, this is the man? Because, you know, he doesn't have a glowing CV in terms of, you know, managerial experience. I'd love to know, actually. I don't think we'll ever know, but it would, you know, I'd love to sit down with Mr. Dye and find out exactly what it was that was said that has made him so confident that this is the man for the job. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to talk about someone with very little experience. You know, we can talk for a little bit about his time at Chicago, but other than that, we can't really say anything.
So, according to the website, the social media team put out, this was the statement that got released. You probably guys have read this, but I want to read it to everyone else. Owner Mr. Dye said, with his vast experience of top-flight football as both player and a coach across Europe and the States, and with a proven pedigree of success working with young up-and-coming footballers on both the domestic and international scene, which is very much a very good point, because he won the under-20 title with Serbia when he was manager of them, and he's been very high regarded as one of the best Serbian coaches that they've got. I am confident that the new manager, I'm not even going to try, can help take this forward. This is a process, and this appointment has been made only after long, careful consideration after meeting with him. We found him to be an exceptional candidate who impressed us immediately. I am sure he is the right man to take Reading Football Club forward. I am delighted he has signed as our new manager. So, by the sounds of it, he's done something right.
He's obviously definitely said the right things. I can see the part with the young players that you've mentioned now. I can see as that would have been a really big tick.
That was what I was just about to say. Was he has? I think the line that really got me when I was reading it the very first time was he has a pedigree of successfully working with young and upcoming footballers.
Yeah, I think that's the line that's going to get Mr. Dye's juices flowing, isn't it? Yeah.
We all know that he loves our academy, Mr. Dye, and he's trying to build it up and make it bigger. Ryan, I want to ask you as well. Do you think that's probably the main reason why he's been picked?
Yes. It's only my one of my friends asked me about what I thought about this the other day, and obviously Chicago fans, you're getting very mixed responses. But you don't last 4 years in a job like that if you're crap.
No. And I think one of the things that Chicago Fire fans need to realise was he was told when he signed, and I found an article which was told to him, was that he was told when he joined this was an experiment to see if he can get fans into the stadium and to get players in, which he did, and he got Sebastian Schweinsteiger to sign from Man United. I think it was from Man United or from Man United. He got him to convince him to move from Man United to Chicago. So he must. I don't know whether I'm being over optimistic about this. Probably,
but I think you also have to remember that the MLS and the EFL, the club structures and football clubs aren't run in anywhere near the same way. You know, you're talking about things like franchises and. You don't get that, and not just in the EFL. Really, it's not, well, to my knowledge, it's not that big across Europe. So in that sense, I almost feel like it's harsh to compare or to look at someone's credentials working at an American club and saying, oh well, if he didn't achieve X in America, then he's not going to be able to do it over in England, because I think the things are run so differently. But yeah, for me, it's more the fact that he doesn't have any experience in European or in Championship football management that kind of concerned me.
What do you both think? Do you think he'll do well? Do you think he will flop? What's your opinion of it so far?
$1 million question. I hope he does well.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, if you had your personal opinion, okay, so let's make this into a question. Do you think he'll be here at the end of the season?
Not a clue. I couldn't answer that question.
It's 50.
I hope so, but who knows?
Yeah, it's just, again, I'm the same. It's so hard to ask because I haven't seen how the team play under him, and respect is a big thing in football. He needs to get the players on side. Reading do have some egos in the dressing room. They've had egos in the dressing room for a long time, which has been a big problem, certainly over the past few seasons. So he's going to have to come in and command respect straight away. I don't know whether
I don't know whether you both have been looking on Instagram, but there seems to be I've been looking at Instagram to see what the players have been posting. I don't know. I never looked in. I'm not a big Instagram person. I'm learning just because of this podcast. But with the stories and what I'm seeing being posted, there seems to be very much a squad cohesion with this team now. Everyone's seen the photo of Liam Moore bullying Tom McIntyre by throwing his shoe in the pool. I don't know whether you both have seen that, but that's one of the funniest reaction by Tom McIntyre telling Liam Moore to F off, stop throwing my shoe. That did make me laugh. And then Liam Moore scaring him in the hallway. So it seems like, and then all the singing and it just seems, I don't know what you guys think, but there's just something about this team. I just feel, I don't know.
There was a period last season where I distinctly remember, and I can't remember, it might have actually been Liam Moore that I spoke to about it, and sort of talking about the fact that the squad seemed a lot happier than they had done previously under Jose Gomez. But that feeling did sort of seem to, or it felt as if it had tailed off towards the back end of last season. Well, I say back end up until COVID did it for everyone. There certainly was a time when you could really tell that everyone was smiling, everyone was happy, and it wasn't just the players, it was the club staff, everyone that you sort of met, everyone you sort of bumped into. It just seemed very sort of happy-go-lucky and jolly. I think that obviously that spirit is really important, and hopefully they can keep that up. And that's something else that obviously the new manager is going to have to address, and something that he's going to have to encourage. Unity is a big thing in football, and players need to get along and need to play as a team.
It seems like when they've got rid of the 13 players, I don't want to come across horrible, but I'm gonna. But it seems like when the 13 players have gone, there seems to be a relief in the squad. Like, okay, cool. Now we can. It seems like because they've densed the squad down, everyone knows that there's now a chance for everyone to get playing time. So did you know what I mean?
The squad was too big. There's no disputing that. That's a really good point actually, and that possibly could play a role in it.
So now the best question that you've been asked for the past year and a half, Ovi, has officially signed, and you won't get that question anymore. Fingers crossed that you don't get that question anymore. Do we know the feeling in the camp? Is he happy to be here now for 4 years? Is he relaxed? Even with everything that's gone on?
As far as I'm aware, it's what he wanted. He wanted a long-term contract. He loves the club. He loves being at Reading. He's happy at Reading. His career is, I don't want to say it was taking a turn for the worse, but I think he'd gone to Sunderland. They they were relegated.
Got relegated, yeah. And then he went to Rangers and it didn't do very well.
Rangers and Steven Gerrard absolutely pelted him, sent him back to Liverpool. So I think he was probably in quite a difficult place, mentally as well. I'd imagine he was struggling and sort of not knowing where his future would be, and came to Reading, and it was almost love at first sight. The fans loved him. He's obviously put in a lot of hard work, but he's almost idolised at Reading. So yeah, I can see why he's happy at the club, and yeah, I think Reading fans are very lucky to have a player of that.
Especially for how cheap it was.
So I took my headphones off, and all I heard from you then was when he didn't really have anywhere. It was love at first sight, and I know exactly who you're talking about.
Me. So this is a question I saw a couple of times that I've seen it going around that I want to ask, especially Ryan, but I want to get your take on it as well, Mr. Friday. Is, would you drop Elise and not stump his growth, but take it a back seat and not put too much pressure on him? Because it looked like during pre-season that it was very much 2 cams, 2 centre mids, no wingers, and the only wingers we had was the right wing back, left wing back pushed up, and the right centre back and left centre back pushed a little bit wider to make a little bit more width to it. Do you think it's a good idea to maybe drop Elise and bring him on, make him impact, and play Jaria a lot more, or Jaria, however you want to pronounce it?
The best example that I can give for me is the Theo Walcott example of what happens when you put too much pressure on a player too young. I'm not saying that Theo Walcott didn't turn out to be a brilliant footballer, because he did, and he's had a good career. But we were led to believe that he was going to be a lot more. And I know injuries have obviously played a part in that, and there are different factors. But one thing I really like about, I'm going to take it back to Man United, but just looking at Mason Greenwood, who's obviously he has a huge potential, but Solskjaer, I think, used him wisely. He wasn't tempted just to chuck him in every game. He had him in for a couple of games, and they took him out, and then in, out. I think that's important for young players, that they're given a taste, but also they know that they need to work for it. And then the other side of it is the pressure. If someone like Michael Elise, who's 17, and look at Danny Loader. Danny Loader had which wasn't his fault, but he was hyped up by certain people, and I think he did have a lot of pressure on him. And there are a lot of Reading fans that thought Danny Loader was this unbelievably gifted striker when he'd actually only played 20 minutes in the Carabao Cup as an attacking midfielder. Liam Kelly, another one, had
okay, so going on with that, do you think our fans overhype players too much, and then when they don't reach that status?
Fans do that in general. I wouldn't say that's just Reading fans. I'd say that's football fans, and that's social media for you as well. A player can do a clever twist or a clever turn, and it's plastered all over social media, and then all of a sudden a fan is saying, such and such, look, he's going to be such a good player, look, his quality, when in actual fact, it was just a turn. It doesn't mean anything, and then, all of a sudden you're hyped up, or you have a manager that tells a young midfielder that he's going to be the next Iniesta. That doesn't help either. So, but yeah, no, I think that is football fans in general. I think fans do hype up players too quickly, rather than sort of allowing them just to focus and to grow. And we've all been 18. You are impressionable when you're young. You do believe things you hear, and it can go to your head. And I think that's the difference between the players that go on to be the best and the ones that sort of tail away, is that they keep their focus day in, day out. So yeah, no, I definitely think it's possible.
Ryan?
Yeah, well, I think they could both play in the same team, but I think it's important that, obviously, Elise, like you said, he's 18. He can't play every week.
So the issue, okay, so you say you can play on the same team, they can, but then if you think about it, we've got Swift, Ajaria, Lauren, Reno, Hosgrove. Hosgrove has proven that he's gone out on loan and smashed it, and people bigger and wanted Celta Vigo were apparently interested in him a couple of weeks ago, but didn't do anything. You've got Hosgrove, who is one. Do you think Elise should go out on loan, maybe, and go and learn from a lower league club and then come back? Or do you think he should stay around the first team and learn?
Right. I don't think I think he's already championship quality. He's good enough to play in the league. So if he did go out on loan, I think it would be beneficial to send him to another championship club or equivalent of the championship. But he is definitely good enough to be in and around the first team. Again, players that you've just listed to be that he'll be competing with in the squad, likes of Holsgrove, they're coming back and they're going to be in a similar situation. So I think we haven't got a massive squad at the moment anyway. So I think having the depth and the opportunity for rotation there is only going to be a good thing. Obviously, we've got a lot of central midfielders with Elise, Ajaria, Swift, Renomota, Lauren, and youngsters that are coming through. But so I do think keeping them around the first team will be a good thing, but I don't think there would be any harm in sending them out on loan as well. But I'd rather them stick around.
I think sending him out on loan would be playing almost a bit of a dangerous game.
Yeah.
Purely because obviously we know that there are, he's a talented young player. Teams are going to be interested in him. Obviously we know that Leeds already showed initial interest, and if it gets to a point where Reading are saying, well, you're not going to play here, we're going to send you out on loan, there's nothing to stop other teams from coming along and saying, well, hang on a second, you're not part of Reading's plans this season, so why not come here and we'll give you this sort of development platform.
It's the Loader situation again, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed.
No, I thought that was a topic of conversation I thought I saw, which was quite good. We've been linked. Okay, before we go on the players that we've been linked, because Jesus Mary. Is there any news? Have you got anything going on about players maybe leaving? Is there any? Are they just waiting for the new manager to have a look at the players to see who he wants to keep and what happens?
Yeah, they've obviously they're training at the moment. They've got a friendly coming up in a couple of days' time. So I think the next, for the players, I was almost quite not surprised to see them sort of messing about on Instagram, but I almost felt that actually this is, if you're a Reading player, these next few days are really crucial because the manager has literally got a couple of training sessions and a game before he's going to have to decide, because he hasn't got any time. The season starts in a couple of weeks. So, if you're a player now, this is now the time where you're really going to have to make your mark, because if anyone shows any signs that the manager doesn't like, he hasn't got, well, let's give him a few more weeks and see how he does. He hasn't got that gift of time. So, yeah.
I think maybe a little bit of a luxury for the players is that the transfer window doesn't end to October. So even if the start of the season they're not bang on fire, they've got a couple of weeks to maybe, prove something, show that they've got something. So we've been linked, I can't believe I'm saying this, with two current Benfica players who I'm going to talk about both of them in a sec as well, but I'm trying to get the stats up. So the first one we've got is Andrea Zikovic. He's a youth player at Play. He's a winger. One of the wingers. He's a youth player. He was at Partizan for 4 years. Went through their youth for his youth career. Then he also went into a first team, played 63 appearances, got 17 goals, and then he's played for Benfica for 4 years with 55 appearances and 3 goals. I think he was in the team with our new manager that won the under-20 World Cup or Euros. It was as well. Do we know if they're going to actually, because he was linked with Everton the beginning of last season with a £31 million move, but now is set free. Is there any can this actually happen?
No.
No, not. It wouldn't. I think this. it goes back, and it was exactly the same when Yapstam came. Yapstam came in, and all of a sudden, Reading were linked with anyone who was Dutch.
That's true.
Any footballer who was Dutch, who may or may not be leaving their club that summer, was linked with Reading. Jose Gomez came in, and all of a sudden, you know, the entirety of the sporting academy was coming to Reading. It kind of just feels a bit like that again to me. You know, they've recruited a Serbian guy, and all of a sudden, half of Serbia is jetting over to Reading. So
there's a couple of things to this as well. The two people are both from Benfica. They're in Portugal. They're right around the corner, I think, from where they are as well. So that might. But the other one, Lambaria Fiesta. If you're an FM person or a FIFA, you know he's a bit of a beast on it. So he his career is as a CDM, a bit of a position I think we might be lacking in. Where he was a Deportivo La Coruña, Deportivo Alvarez, sorry. He went on loan at the end of last season, but he's played for Benfica over 100 something times for them. Was at Olympiacos, Partizan, and then he was at Hajduk Kula before then as well. But a little fun fact about him as well is he has never lost a title. In 10 straight years, he has won a title. And I tell you, and I've got them here as well, his trophies are unbelievable. He's won 5 Portuguese championships. He's won 5 Portuguese Cup winners. He's won 2 Cup winners. He's won 3 Portuguese League Cup winner. He's a 3-time Portuguese Super Cup winner, 3-time Greek champion, 2-time Greek Cup champion, a 3-time Serbian champion, and a 2-time Serbian Cup winner. And apparently we can get him for free.
I just think that players like that, I don't pretend to be any form of expert on Portuguese football, but
nor do I.
You know, someone at that level, I mean, they've got to be earning, what, 50 grand a week, 60 grand a week? So what are Reading going to sell them that's going to convince them to...
The big-ass B&Q store down the road from the stadium.
You can help keep us in the championship.
Mm.
You know, Reading have got players who are earning, you know, first-team players who are earning, you know, a fifth of that. So I just can't see where... Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it could happen, but are Reading going to convince someone who's, you know, playing Champions League football, earning very good money to come over to the JC Stadium for, you know, a fifth of the wages, possibly even more?
Mm-hmm.
It's
quite funny how they could sell it, isn't it? Why not leave Benfica, where you can play Champions League football? You can win another league that you'll probably win again.
Challenging for trophies every year.
Champions League, you're going to be in there, you're going to do whatever. Why not come over to Medeski? And if you lose 3 home games, you're going to get booed by the fans.
All 7 of them in the stadium.
Yeah, exactly. There's 7 of them. I'm one of them, just sitting there going, "What am I doing here? Why am I still here?" But have you heard anything about maybe players incoming? Is there anything that you've got word on?
Not anticipating anything in the sort of very immediate future. Like I said, I think the focus for the moment is getting the squad into training and looking at what they've got, who they feel they can work with for the upcoming season. You've got players like Mark McNulty, who obviously, you know, has got a chance to prove himself. So I think at the moment the focus is more on looking at what's available, and then the focus will be on, okay, well, you know, this is what we've got, this is what we don't have, so this is now what we're going to need.
Okay, so this is a question that I want to ask both of you. I'm going to get Ryan's opinion on this first. Is if you were can you stop highlighting all the questions, please? Because it highlights it for me.
I'm literally not on there.
Oh, it's annoying because I don't know what you do. But anyway, if you were in charge of Reading and you were Mark Bowen, according to Reading fans, I'm going by this, Reading need 2 wingers, a centre-back, a backup centre-back and a backup left-back to start the season, apparently. If you were director of football, both of you, I'm going to ask this. If you had to pick players, realistic, I am not having Messi or someone of that ilk being named.
He's available.
He is. Well, actually, unless you have 700 million at this precise moment, he is. But if you were realistic and you had to pick the players you think Reading should go for in this transfer window, who would you go for?
Right, so I did read that question earlier and did have a little think about it.
Because yeah, you're gonna. Yeah. So we're also been linked with this morning. Jack Clark. I can't.
Clark Salter.
Yeah, him. He's the under-23 England international captain, I think. He was on loan at Birmingham last season, and apparently they loved him. He was at loan at Sunderland the year before, I think, as well. He's got a very good pedigree. He's played around in the Championship. I would consider it. I would have him over Dickey. But anyway, who if you had to pick those positions, who would you go for? Ryan, go.
Right, I'll start with centre back, and because we had a very heated debate about it earlier, I would go for someone like Rob Dickey, who obviously we've got a sell-on fee, so the opportunity, if we want to bring him back, he's going to cost us less than it would cost any other club. He's young, hungry, but obviously we've got more there, so I'd go for someone like him. Clark Salter again wouldn't do any harm. Going on to left back. This is what I really thought about. But I'd go for someone. It's a name that I'm going to put there, and you probably think like that's an awful decision. Someone just to push Richards that's capable of doing the job. Someone like Luke Garrett, who's just been released by Everton.
Yeah.
Obviously not really played at this level before. I think he went on loan at Fulham in 2015-16 and then the following season at Wigan. So that's when he's played in the Championship, but he's been on loan at Oxford and then was on loan at Ipswich last season, so he hasn't played in the Championship for 2 or 3 years.
During his career, he's played for Everton, but he's also been on loan at Cheltenham. He's been at loan at Colchester. He's been at loan at Fulham, Wigan, Oxford and Ipswich. He's also played for the England under 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So he's played at every single age level up until the England under 21s.
I think he would have played more for Everton had they not had Leighton Baines.
He's retired now.
Yeah, so I think someone like him, push Richards for the first team spot, would do us very good. Who else have we got in there? What position?
2 wingers.
I honestly have no idea.
So I've seen
I don't know who's out there.
A name that's going around, which is Marcus Maddison, the former Peterborough Sunderland. He seems to be he's a good player on his day, but he seems to be a bit of a baby.
Yeah, I think he's got a bit of an ego thing.
He's off to America, isn't he? So he's ending his career already and going off.
Well, have you? I don't know whether you've seen this, Courtney, but over Twitter, the new owner that's trying to buy Sunderland.
Man, as well. If you ever meet Marcus Maddison, he's not the sort of person you want to bump into in a
Is he not? But I don't know whether you've seen the new guy that's trying to buy Sunderland, but he's putting everything that he wants to do on Twitter. He's already said he wants to pump 50 million into the club, transfer-wise. He wants to get Marcus Maddison. And I think someone did the maths that he tried to do, but then he's also now trying to break the salary cap that's already been involved. So that's one name. But if you had wingers, who would you choose, Mr. Ryan?
I honestly don't have a clue. I don't know who there is about, to be honest. I could give you an example of the kind of player. I think we should go for someone who's at like a good player, decent in League One, who's had a good couple of seasons in League One, who's
Curtis,
ready to.
Is it
Curtis?
Curtis. That was my example.
Ronan Curtis.
Got it all lined up in my head.
All right, go on then, Mr. Friday. You choose who you would have.
Wingers, or am I starting at left back?
You can start wherever you want.
I'll start on the wing. Ronan Curtis for me is definitely someone they should be looking at. They're looking at him. They wanted to sign him before he went to Portsmouth. He obviously chose to go to Portsmouth because he felt he was going to get more play time. Done really well in League One. He's obviously an ambitious player and affordable. I don't think Portsmouth are going to command or would really be in a position to command a huge fee for him. So that's definitely someone who I would look at. Centre back, I agree with what Ryan said about Rob Dickey. He had a really good season last year. He's very highly rated. Looks like it could be going to QPR, what I've been reading in the last few hours. So has a connection with the club, lives in the area. He did live in Binfield. I'm not sure if he does. I imagine he probably still does. It's not exactly a long commute. No. So yeah, there's obviously a lot of selling points about coming to Reading. Left back, controversial one here, and I don't think they would get him, but someone like Joe Jacobson, who I've met many times, a great guy, great professional, someone who I really think could push Omar Richards to be better than he is. An amazing season with Wickham last season, his goals and assists. It kind of feels like I'm not comparing Joe Jacobson to Ian Hart, obviously two completely different players, but when Reading signed Ian Hart, he was sort of early 30s and come off the back of a fine goal scoring record in League One, and it ended up being a really good signing for Reading. So yeah, I don't think he'd leave the project that he started at Wickham, but no harm in perhaps tempting him with a significantly bigger pay packet and see if they can strike a deal. What were the other positions?
So it was 2 wingers, centre back, and a left back.
2 wingers. I'll tell you actually who I did think of for centre back as well. Obviously, it looks like Quinton Fortune is going to be coming into the club. He has a lot of connections with Man United. I think is it Tegan Mendy, who's very highly regarded.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
The young centre half. He made his debut a couple of weeks back in the Europa League. Obviously, not going to get a lot of first team game time. So it's perhaps someone like that, similar to obviously Jake Clark-Solskjaer as a young player at Chelsea. Second winger, it's a hard one. They do need wingers.
Yeah,
I think it's well known. What's the chap's name? Is it Boga, who was at Birmingham? He always
Jeremy Boga, is it?
Something like that. He always quite impressed me. Don't know if he's available. he was, every time I've seen him, I thought he was. No, that's not who I'm thinking of. But it's something like that. I'll have to come back to you on that.
I think I've got the guy that you mean. Started off at Chelsea, went on loan to Reims, Granada, and Birmingham.
Yes, him. Where is he now?
Sassolo.
Okay, maybe not going to get him then.
He might want to swap Italy.
He's been there.
Worth a punt.
He's been there since 2018. So
wow, he's a good player, and he ended up at Serie A. So yeah, that's probably why I thought he was a good player.
So for me, I wouldn't go for Rob Dickie, and we had very much a heated discussion earlier. Was because my thinking is if Rob Dickie's coming into the team now, he ain't going to get in. He's not going to start off with, one, because Moore's here, and it seems like, yes, he's maybe been stripped of captaincy. We don't know what's happening with that captain front at the moment. But the bloke's on a lot of money. Yeah, he might have been dropped by Morrison and McIntyre. But if you've got Moore around the squad, he's going to play. And Rob Dickie's not going to come here to sit on the bench. And McIntyre has cemented his place. Morrison has cemented his place. He's going to go up against Liam Moore. Might be better, but Liam Moore ain't going to go anytime soon. Because Celtic are now going after Shane Duffy. Unless they want to, if that falls through, then they might come here. But no other club's going to go after Moore because of the wage he's on. The other discussion I saw as well is about him taking a wage drop, but that's never going to happen. That's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I think for a centre back, I think we need someone that's not mature, but has been around a bit. Who could easily I know we want to get young players and get them in, but if we're going to bring someone in, we need someone who's about 25, 26, who's going to come in, and if Moore or Morrison go out, can easily slot in, experience, know how to do it. Left back, it has to be I wouldn't say oldie. I would say someone who's been around a long time that can either sit down with Richards and go, right, you did well here, but why not think about doing this? Instead of him... They've got Richards and Samuels, if I'm right, at the moment, who's doing the left-back position. Samuel's 17, Richards is 20? 21, if I'm right? Maybe.
Yeah, he's around that, isn't he?
Around that age. You've got 2 really young players that are trying to compete for the same, but there's going to be no one to help them. There's no one to sit down with Richards or Samuels to go, you did well, but why not think about doing this? Wingers, Wayne Routledge could be a shout, experienced, could get into may not get into the squad, but be good head to have around. Roman Curtis, he could come in as well. Tim Bay might want to come back because I really want him to come back. I don't know why. I just want the Kenyan sensation to bring all of his Kenyan fans with him, just because they were so much fun to look at, to read the posts. He is the Kenyan Messi. Okay, thank you. I think that's who I'd go for. But I get what people were saying about Rob Dickey. Yes, he had a very good season last year. I get that. But for me, if we're going to get a backup as I said, I don't know whether, Ryan, you heard, but as I said just a minute ago, if we're going to get a backup, has to be experienced, has to slot in if Morrison gets injured. He's not going to play every game, Morrison. He's 34, 35 now, maybe a bit less. He's going to have a break. You're going to have someone with experience who has to come in.
Yeah.
Ryan.
But then again, if you're old enough, you're good enough.
But if you ain't got the legs for it, you can't. With this season, it's different. Other seasons before, you're playing 14 games apparently this season that are midweek as well. When normally it was like 7 or 8, but they're playing double midweek just to catch up from everything. So this season's a lot harder than what it has been before. That's why I'm saying we need experience.
Where's Matt Phillips now? I was just trying to think of wingers. I always quite liked him. He was good.
And he at West Brom.
He was at West Brom. Is he still there? Is he in their first team?
Was he at Cardiff?
Matt Phillips is still at West Brom.
Oh, is he still there?
How many games did he play last season?
Let me scroll down to the bottom. 39.
Oh, so regular. Regular. Unless we can get him on loan, because they want Troy Deeney, apparently. Stupid idiots. Whoever wants Troy Deeney shouldn't be allowed to know anything. So they're going out to Portugal. What do you expect to happen over the next 10? We got a friendly. Well, it says 10 days when they went out on Friday. Got a friendly on Tuesday against. I'm not going to announce the name. It's too long, and it's too weird to announce. Courtney? What do you think will happen for the next week, next few days out there? Do you think anything significant will happen?
No, I think, like I said, the next few days will just be Paunovic. I hope I pronounced his name right. So I did, and obviously assessing his squad and looking at what he has, and then after that, I think the real sort of busy time will come where they're going to have to, look for players that they can get in quickly, to try and get them in and ready for the start of the season. I guess the one perk you do have is most players will be reasonably fit. Obviously, the season was only just having finished, and I think most teams had a couple of weeks off and back to training. So, hopefully whoever they do bring in will be in relatively decent shape and won't take sort of too much time to get up to match sharpness. It's obviously just a case of learning the play style, meeting the new teammates. I think for the next few days, it's going to be looking at the squad and looking at what's available, and then after that, it's going to be really busy.
So, how do you think the season's going to? So, I'm not going to talk about the whole season because we never know what's going to happen with Reading at the moment. So, how would you both feel the start of the season is going to go at the moment? Are you confident? Are you excited for the start of the new season? How are you guys feeling?
I'm excited. I'm never confident with Reading when it comes to the start of the season. I
don't know why. I always am. No matter how bad the transfer window's been, I turn up and I don't know why. I always get to the first game of the season and go, oh, here we go, 107 points, new record.
We're going to win the league.
Yeah.
It's like that. You always want your team to get off to a good start, and getting off to a good start in the championship is so important because the points gap can build up really quickly. I'm excited to see what happens. Obviously, we're quickly going to find out whether the decisions made over the summer are the right decisions for the future of the club. So, excited. I'm not sure if I could say I'm confident, but hopeful. I've got my fingers and toes crossed that they get off to a flying start. Which will obviously take a lot of pressure off of the manager anyway. and the players.
Ryan, how are you feeling about the start of the season at the moment?
I'm always quietly optimistic. It's just, I don't know why. I always am. And then it takes about 3 games and we're going down. No, but I don't know, because obviously you've seen all through the summer, everyone saying with so many people leaving and not many people coming in, just Reading fans are so negative. And they're all like, oh, we're going down. We're like, as long as we finish above 21st, I'm happy. But that's really not the case. I think the players we've got in our academy are more than capable. I've said before, I think we have a good Football League academy. Like throughout the 3 Football League divisions, we've got quite a lot of players that have gone on to play at that standard.
100%. It's a big season for some of the young players.
Yeah,
So,
and I think
speaking to someone about Tom McIntyre, huge season for him.
Yeah,
done all the right things so far.
Yeah, and I think they could come in and they're capable of playing. And also, when you're making a step up like that, you're going to want to impress. So I always thought that people saying we were going to struggle, I don't think we were going to struggle that much. Especially because, like, looking at the other teams in this league, it's an awful standard from what it has been before.
It's not as big standard as what it has been previous years before. So I get what you're saying. So I think, I don't know what you guys think, but I'm looking at the fixtures while I do this. Is the first 3 games of the season is Derby away, Barnsley at home, and Cardiff away, and then we've got Watford at home and Middlesbrough away. I think it's
a really tough start.
I think the tough ones is going to be Cardiff. I don't really cast Derby as anything because they just buy everything and just get away with it. Also, I don't give a crap about them. Barnsley could be an interesting. I think that's the game that we will properly see his tactics and his formation. I think he's going to go into the Derby game trying to sit back and hit the counter.
Schroeder, he did a bloody good job of keeping them up. I wouldn't.
No, yeah, he did very well.
I don't think that would be an easy game by any stretch of imagination. They'll be buoyed from obviously staying up in the league, and I think that would be a tough game for me.
And then we've got
Barnsley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a lot the easiest second home games against Watford. They're just rubbish anyway. Can't stand them. Hope they lose. Hope they get relegated again.
The thing is, in football, we're sitting here talking. We're talking about this now like they're really hard games. For all we know, we win the first 2, and mentality's there. We're absolutely buzzing by it. We go on and win the next 44. I know that's not going to happen, but. Okay. Also, one of my mates has started a league table prediction thing. You need to do your predictions, by the way, Mark. But I've put Reading in 9th, just so you see like how I think this season's going to go.
Progress. I think anything. I just want to see them. A.D. Williams said something a few weeks ago. I think it's something, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of minimum requirement, maximum effort. And that really resonated with me. And
he said that on Elm Park Royals.
That's just something, and I 100% agree with him. That's what I want to see. I just want to see a Reading team go out and fight each week. And I'm sick of seeing prima donnas. I'm sick of seeing people who concede a goal and then heads drop, don't care, whatever. We've lost this one. I want to see just that fight and that desire. I think, as Ryan said, we've got a lot of ability within the squad. We've got a lot of promising young players, the likes of Elise and McIntyre. We've got experienced players who are good players. Michael Morrison, Andy Yeardon, Lucas Zhao. They're good players. So I just want to see.
I'm going to put a bit of a sour note on. I've just got a message through, and basically it has been reported by Eddie. I don't know whether you know any more of that. It's just been reported in the past 10 minutes that Bowen may be actually leaving. He won't be staying. According to him, apparently he's out for the day, and he can't see his others. He's only come through from this morning that apparently Bowen might be leaving, may be leaving. So
He's in Portugal at the moment.
mm.
he's there.
There's a picture of him next to the manager as well, which is. I don't know.
I haven't really been on Twitter, to be fair, but yeah, no, I'll take your word for it if there's a picture of him. But
yeah, on Instagram, I think Jal was recording everyone singing.
Oh, okay.
And then in the table behind whoever was singing, you could see Bowen, and the new manager was there, and Bowen's head was just turned talking to someone else, but you could see Bowen was on the same table with the new manager. But that's what I've just seen. But we never know. We never know with Reading. But that's going to end it there. We're going to end it there on that note. But this Friday, we have another Fans Friday. Last Friday, we had Johnny come on, talk a little bit about mental health. We're going to carry on talking every episode a little bit about mental health and get everyone a little bit more aware. If there is any issues or there's anything that you guys have, there is a tweet that I have made that you guys can go down and look at the links and give a call or give an email, go on a website to help someone. If not, go on the Mind Charity website, and there will be links there for you as well if there's any issues that you're looking at or there's any issues you're going through. To everyone else as well, I hope you enjoyed with what we're doing, and I hope everyone likes it. I know Elm Park Royals is back, so please don't leave us just go that. Please come and listen to us. It's a different perspective, different way of doing it, and we're excited that you guys are here on the journey with us. Fans Friday will be back for the next, I think I booked 3 weeks guests.
I think so, yeah.
I went a bit of a rampage the other day. I started booking people in for the next few weeks. So we've got Fans Friday. Even when the season starts, we've got people coming on where we will get their input into what they think the team might be, who we're playing, what we're going up against. We're going to get everyone involved. And we have a plan for the end of the season or midway through the season. That could be interesting. We don't know yet. We're going to see how it goes. But thank you ever so much for joining. Please go and subscribe. Please like. Please go and share. Do all the good things that you guys have been doing for us so far. And yes, thank you. And bye. Ryan, say bye. Bye.
Bye.
Connie, say bye. Bye. I can't do this any longer.